And the theme song winds down. Good evening, and welcome to Nerdy Neighbors. I'm Zach.
And I'm Vince, but I'm not doing a voice.
But you definitely took a minute to figure out whether you wanted to or not.
I was debating the merits of it.
Excellent improvisational skills.
Yeah, I'm a big yes and.
Yeah, you're way to yes and there. Good evening. I already said that. Hi guys, welcome to Nerdy Neighbors.
Episode 4.
Episode a quattro. So, hopefully, at this point, we have a host. We are releasing this properly on a podcasting app. Or probably, a podcasting host. And we have a YouTube channel.
We do have a YouTube channel.
Follow our YouTube channel.
Please do. Nerdy Neighbors Pod. So I figure we can get right into it. This has been a rough week for comic book fans across the gamut. Because the beloved Stan Lee has passed away.
Yep.
At the age of 95. So we're just going to talk a bit up top about his impact in us overall, maybe what we appreciate from his life, and then we'll get into the episode proper from there.
We mulled over being like proper nerds and maybe just doing a whole Stan Lee episode, but ultimately we thought there will be plenty of that. Probably by people better suited for it than us.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if this show is not anything, it's just me and Vince's opinions on things.
Right.
So that's what you're tuning in for, damn it, and that's what you're about to hear about, Stan Lee. So we talked about this pre-recording, and I'm going to ask you, so how did you feel? How did it? Not so much how did it impact you when you first heard it, but it's happened on Monday. Mm-hmm. We're recording on a Friday. In the interim of those days, how are you processing it?
I don't know if I am yet.
Right.
That's the kind of thing. I heard about the news on Monday. I initially had that oh, that's such a bummer.
How did you hear about it? Were you just scrolling?
I was just scrolling through. I was looking for news.
Yeah.
And the most newsworthy item of the entire week has been Mr. Lee's passing. I
was in a group message with my family.
Oh, really?
Probably about... Oh, you know what? About a personal thing that's not even interesting. But we were in this group message. Also, it is my sister, my younger brother, my fiancée, and my mother. And at a certain point, the group message just turned into us doing bits.
Gotcha.
Which came to a screeching halt when my sister reported, oh my God, Stan Lee is dead. So that's how I heard about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know if I've processed it fully. There's still a part of me that's just maybe it's just some terrible prank. Some terrible 4chan prank that's just gone too far. But, giving credence that it's happened.
You don't think he's Pizzagated?
No. I think
we coined that on this pod.
Maybe he Disney'd himself. But no, yeah. Since Monday, I've sort of been looking back on this stuff that like old comics and everything like that, and man, thank you for Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah, guys, Vince has got a Spider-Man tattoo.
Yeah, there is.
Vince likes Spider-Man.
It's a full calf piece.
It's a prominent Spider-Man tattoo.
I adore Spider-Man because he speaks to the loser in me who tries and doesn't always succeed.
Yeah.
Fails more times than he doesn't. But man, throughout this entire week, I've just been going back and reading old Spider-Man comics and finding the things that made me like Spider-Man in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I've been leafing through the Spider-Geddon arc that's happening right now.
That stuff's great, though.
Yeah. And it just taking it back to where it originally came from, and man, it means a lot to me personally. Spider-Man is my favorite comic book character.
Yeah.
So
just
yeah.
In the wake of that. So when you read Spider-Geddon and in the vein that we're talking about it now, in this last couple of days, is is it almost like, and I don't want to feed you this, but is it like, wow, it is kind of breathtaking that this
it's exactly that
idiotically simple idea
that has just flourished
Yeah.
into it's seeing a man go through and plant just the dumbest seed. Like, what if he was a Spider Man?
Right.
And
But it's the power and the responsibility.
exactly, and that's what has generated this wonderful creation that now exists that we get to continue to enjoy despite the creator of it moving along.
Right.
And I could not be more thankful for that specific character. Marvel in general, like, of course, but,
I have a very similar thing
but yeah,
that I'm about to get into.
Well,
so.
please get into it. Don't let me
So
go
for
over it.
me, what not just what he did, but what his impact on me, his impact on my life, like why rattle off the cornerstone things that he's created: Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four. Hey, I just rattled off two, but for me, it was always X-Men. I mean, before I could read, my mom had a Chris Claremont, the big giant X-Men special when they introduced Wolverine. I used to draw that cover. I used to trace that cover and draw it and stare at it all the time. And I mean, X-Men was just everything to me. And actually, frankly, like, most of the first stuff I read was Chris Claremont stuff.
Right.
Because that guy made that book.
Right.
But the thing about Stan Lee, putting aside that most of the best stuff X-Men got canceled when he was writing it.
Yeah.
But the thing about Stan Lee, and not just the fact that he's the father of X-Men and he's the father of all these things, was he was the wheeler and dealer. He got it into our laps. These things, the thing we were just kidding about Spider-Man being a dumb idea, it would have died on the vein. On the vine, if it wasn't for Stan Lee wheeling and dealing. He was a guy who not just came up with these ideas, and also, I think, if not championed, definitely believed in the concept of, no, we have to ground this in something. This has to be about character. It's great that Superman can just fly, but why? Let's give him wings. You got Angel. You know what I mean? Like let's give them flaws. Let's make them multifaceted. And you can point at a lot of people at the House of Ideas who were doing that.
That's a crazy hot take. Not to cut you off, but Angel is just Superman with wings. Hot take from Zach.
That's Stan Lee's thing. That's how he came up with. That's how he came up with Angel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was like, how does he just fly? That doesn't make any sense. But wings, man, and that's all the guy can do.
Yeah.
Later on, we'll retcon it so that his bones are hollow. Anywho, he was the guy who was like, not just the kids are going to love this, but like, this stuff works. When he was young and he was first getting started, he didn't take. And when he was getting in comic books, he wasn't taking it seriously. He thought one day he would write the great American novel. And at one point in his career, luckily for us, he translated that idea and that spirit into, I'm going to get these comics in everybody's hand. And I mean, not just comics. He started, let's put out records. Let's make fan clubs. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do newsletters every week. Let's get kids involved. Let's make it more fun for them. He was the Tony Stark of comic books. He was the guy who was like, let's give them some of the power. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's shake it up. And I can't thank him enough for that. I can't thank him enough for being the guy who probably was one of the reasons it was like, let's have a cartoon, an X-Men cartoon, which was huge for me when I was 6 years old. That was everything. And I mean, the X-Men cartoon spawned the Spider-Man cartoon, and then you got movies and stuff like that. And everybody kisses the ring. And it's not just because he came up with the idea. It's because he's the guy. He's the face of it.
It's not that he's the face. He's the spirit.
Yes. Yes.
He's
the
Patronus. Exactly. Faces come and go. Nobody says that Jeff Johns is the heart and soul of DC Comics.
We got to talk about that guy one day because I got a lot of problems with him.
Well, we can go over.
Because I have a feeling you're a defender of Jeff Johns.
I have points of Jeff Johns I like.
But it wouldn't be this podcast if I didn't have a crow in my head.
That's completely fine.
Be in my bonnet about something you just mentioned.
No worries.
But I mean, this week, the internet's flooded with clips of Stan and all that kind of stuff. And frankly, I've been having a hard time watching it.
Yeah, I actively didn't. I was scrolling through YouTube because that's what I do at my job instead of my job. And
Right there with your
Marvel
brother.
and Marvel released that like in memoriam video for Stan Lee, and I wanted to watch it. Every part of me was just like, this is something you should experience. And then the other part of me was like, hey, you're at work, you can't afford to cry.
Oh, that straight up happened to me. Where it's Paul F. Tompkins joke. I think you're about to cry in public.
Yeah.
I was like, the voice in my head said that, and I powered through and I started crying, and luckily was alone in my little office and just sucked it up. But it was, and I'm not posting about it on social media because, frankly, I think that is trite and doesn't actually mean anything. You're just saying to the other people who follow you, hey, I'm a fan of this guy.
Right. Anybody who would see that post should already know that.
Yes, that's my feeling on that. And then
Not to discourage people from posting. If that's the way to
No,
use...
I am.
Okay.
I am. Stop doing that. Nobody gives a shit. And if they do, they already do.
I'm with you guys. Go ahead.
But it was it affected me. It affected me, and bye, Stan. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you a lot. You've made 2 more true believers.
Yeah.
So
Excelsior.
Excelsior, man. Excelsior.
All right. So with that, hey nerds, if you're
Savage stuff out of the way. Dick, poop joke.
Well, hopefully that helped, or hopefully if you're feeling at all similar, and if you're listening this way in the future, and you're still kind of lighting a candle for Stanley, there's some pain for you.
Honestly, if you want to talk to us about it, I know this is going to seem like a gross, shameless plug, but we would honestly love to talk more with people who have been affected, who want to share their stories, what they're thankful for. Please reach out at nerdy_pod. We're more than happy to discuss.
With that, I will end this with what my brother texted when we were all reeling. My brother Joe, who we will have on the podcast, what he said, which kind of ended the conversation. When we were all reeling from the news, he said he was 95 and got to see comics on a world stage and be extremely, extremely successful. All things considered, not too shabby.
Yeah.
Well put, Yusuf. All right. So this week's theme.
This week's topic, we have decided that we're going to pick out our top 3 Batman the Animated Series. I also extended to the New Adventures of Batman because it's the same team.
Yeah.
But
my list didn't go there, but not out of...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just organically.
Right.
I appreciated that you did that, but my list didn't go there. Except for one, which I think might be... I wrote it down because I just know some of these I had to look up. It's high on my list and I know the title, and I don't know if it falls under TAS or The Adventures.
Okay.
So you might be able to illuminate me on that one.
More than happy to. So, because this is a top 3 list, and this is going to be almost exclusively on the internet, let's do honorable mentions first.
Well, hold on.
Holding on.
Yeah. Because my top 3 list got out of control, as did my honorable mentions. And I'm curious if you would be open to doing a top 5.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
Okay.
That means I'm going to have 1 honorable mention, but that's fine.
Well, do you have it in you to do a top 10?
I cannot do a top 10.
You can't?
Not without more research.
I could genuinely do top 50. I could do a top 25 with what I have in front of me. Because it got out of control.
Yeah.
And I almost postponed the podcast because of it, but I was like, he probably has 10. We'll talk about it.
I do not have 10. I have 6.
You have 6?
I have 6. But
all right, well, let's do a top 5. And can I do a top 10?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, but I'll rattle mine off.
Why don't you start off?
I'll
give
start.
us 5 of your give us 5 of your honorable mentions, and then we'll go back and forth with both of our top 5s.
Okay. Well, my first honorable mention is Beware the Grey Ghost.
Okay, gotcha.
100%. That's
It's
a great episode.
Introduces the Grey Ghost, which is a hero from a serial that Bruce Wayne would watch as a child.
And sort of became canon in some other cartoons. I don't think it's ever been mentioned in the comics.
I don't recall it. Then again, there have been comics that have stemmed from the animated series.
Yeah,
so it's
I mean,
possible, but
I don't
haven't
mean
thought
those
about
comics.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
But it,
Grey Ghost played by
Adam
everybody's
West.
favorite Adam West.
Yeah, and he's really being very serious and not Adam Westy.
Yeah, no, he's channeling the Grey Ghost, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I love that episode. The music in that episode is
the music across
Danny
the
Elfman
board.
How
is
about
fantastic. Yeah.
You want to do your first?
Well, I've got one, so you go through a couple more, and I'll.
Oh, right. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take this off my list. My other honorable mention is Almost Got Him. And here's why it's an honorable mention.
You're a mindless goof who doesn't understand good episodes.
No, because that's on everybody's list.
Yeah, it's on my list.
No, I'm sorry. Here's why I took it off I made it an honorable mention, and I'm not putting it in my... And maybe I'll do top 5 as my honorable mentions go on. But I'm not putting it in because it is the
quintessential episode.
Okay, it's the Beatles of if we're talking rock and roll music.
Right.
It's going, I like the Beatles. It's like, okay, man. Everybody likes the Beatles, bro.
You can watch Almost Got Him and learn everything you need to know about all of the main players.
You'll get no argument from me. It's a masterpiece, but it's not going on my list because it's on everybody's list.
You're so hip. Oh my goodness.
That's how most people describe me. It's
Can't
true.
wait till I get old and I can come to you for my hip replacement.
Okay.
All right. Well, my honorable mention is an episode called Joker's Favor. Yeah. It was very, very close. Basically, there's this civilian who he's having a terrible day.
Yep.
He's in traffic. The Joker, unbeknownst to him, cuts him off. He gets up, next to the Joker, starts giving him a waggly fist rant.
Yeah.
Joker rolls down his
window. The closest you can do in a cartoon to cursing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Rassum frassum.
Yeah.
This guy, Charlie, ends up owing the Joker a favor that he cashes in on years later after he's started up a new life, which was really
changed his name, moved,
which was easy for him. I guess.
Can't escape. Well, I mean, he had to. It's the crown prince of crime.
Yeah, I get
it. But you know what? I'll wait.
But yeah, so
that might be on my list, so I might have stuff to say.
It ends up that the Joker cashes in this favor, and all he has to do is open up a door. But everything goes topsy-turvy. He ends up freaking out the Joker. The reason that it's on my honorable mentions list and not my top 5 is because at the end of it, the Joker kind of changes his character up. Throughout the rest of the episode, he's very gung-ho.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he gets awful timid when the dude's holding a bomb up to him. He's just like, dude, you work with bombs all the time.
Yeah.
You can't disarm this dude and unplug a red wire.
And it's not to point at the cracks of a thing I love, but there are a lot of moments in that show where Joker laughs in the face of death.
Yeah.
Or infamously in The Mask of the Phantasm when everything starts blowing up.
You didn't have that, right? Because
no, it's a movie.
That's what I figured.
No.
I'm glad that we had that unspeak.
We don't, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
You ain't hosting this podcast with some asshole.
Definitely. He's in other episodes of the series leading up to and after. He's been sort of he had disregard for his own life.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's that Monty Python thing of, hey, it's hard to end a joke.
Right.
And sometimes you have to just end the episode.
Right. Okay. So, do you want to get into number 5? Or do you have more honorable
Do you want to do... No, I have one last honorable mention.
Sure. Lay it out.
That part of... I almost want to tie with my number 5, but we'll just do it in honorable mention because I actually don't have that many details about it, but Harley and Ivy is the title of the episode.
Harley and Ivy is a wonderful episode. It's so good.
Yeah, I love every now and then on TAS they have these episodes that Batman is barely in.
Yeah.
And you have these great character studies of, these two kind of ancillary characters. Poison Ivy at that point in the series had only had 5 episodes that were just about her.
Right.
9 appearances where she just kind of shows up. She's in, anyways. And it's such a cool thing to kind of I don't know if it's in the writer's room, people being passionate about those characters or people just trying to shake something up.
It has to be because it's 2 gal pals just just hanging, and it's awesome.
And the only thing I don't like about it is it kind of falls into the trope of, like, eventually they start fighting and Harley goes back to her man. And I kind of wish...
Well, honestly, I think that that's more deep-seated in Harley than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's actually pretty true to character. I think that Ivy would want Harley to be away from Joker.
Yeah.
Harley wouldn't be able to understand that or cope with it, would lash out.
That's no, I'm not calling bullshit. I'm just going, I
wish it would have done something.
Yeah, I would have written that a little different. I would have put her back there, but I would have, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no notes for it, but it's my only. So that's the end of my honorable mentions. Now we move on to...
Now we can go to number
and
5.
I predict, before we get into it, that my number 1 is going to piss you off.
I mean, I like every episode of this show, so
all right.
I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. I might wonder why, but I don't think anything will piss me off.
It's going to piss you off.
All right. You actually put it, Almost Got Him, as your number 1.
Mm-mm.
All right, well, let's start off with my number 5, Almost Got Him.
Really?
Number 5.
Almost
Got Him.
Now, so did you do more research? I regret to say I didn't. We were
done
talking
a
about
ton of research.
whether or not that won an Emmy. Did we find out?
That one did not win an Emmy. It was another one on my list.
But no, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
So episode was written by Paul Dini. Obviously, he wrote every episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was directed by Eric Radomski. Released on November 11, 1992. It has one of my favorite title cards in it, where it's just like the smoky lounge and Almost Got Him. Basically, the plot of the episode is a bunch of Batman's rogues are sitting around a poker table while Joker's cheating them out of their money the entire time. I love that level of his character is put in. Anytime you see him, he's always cheating. But they go around the table telling times that they almost got Batman. Everybody goes, there's a Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Penguin, Joker, Killer Croc, and then Killer Croc ends up being Batman.
Well, everyone has a vignette.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's this great comedic moment after 2 of the vignettes where it's
Croc.
Croc's turn.
Right.
And instead of a vignette, he says...
He utters a famous line, I threw a rock at him. It was a big rock. It's great. It's
Ladies and gentlemen, Killer Croc is not in the room.
Oh my goodness.
That was a brilliant performance from my co-host Vince.
I am available, Hollywood. If you need me, let me know.
It also is the animation of them in that room with just the light over them and it's completely black around them is very evocative. It's like
noir AF.
Yes,
that's the first thing I have written on my note sheet. Is noir AF. It's super good.
See, this is part of the reason. Looking at your notes, which, ladies and gentlemen, look like the scribblings of a madman writing a manifesto about I don't know the apocalypse.
I don't know how I pinned with red yarn on a piece of loose leaf paper, but I did.
He rolled a chalkboard in here.
You have to understand.
No, just listen. I'm having the feeling that I had a little bit before you came up here when I was rifling through Batman Wikipedia a second time of we could do so much more on this. So I put to you that when we title this episode, we title it Batman TAS 1.
Okay.
Because we may come back to this and not do a top 10 or something like that.
Yeah, just actually.
But I had this I was looking through it today and this is a rich mind of stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do a whole episode where you and I sit down, have a bud date, watch
just as
3
much
of these
as we
or something, and go, okay, let's talk about it. So we should.
Yeah, no,
okay,
that's a good idea.
Hold on to your list because
gotcha.
we might come up with something after this.
Okay,
all right.
The episode culminates in the Joker's story in which he tries to do something. He does something.
Well, Joker's story, if I don't misremember, is happening concurrently.
So the beginning of his story happens prior, where he kidnaps Batman. He puts him into a joke-fueled electric chair. Batman ends up being freed by Catwoman. Joker ends up capturing Catwoman, and he is currently holding her hostage, he's putting her on a death trap at a cat food factory. Paul Dini. And then it turns out that Killer Croc was actually Batman in disguise. He went there to get information from the Joker. He's able to stop Catwoman from...
But also, it's Joker who keeps, because Joker's so sure he's got the best story, he's the one during the game who's like, hey, let's talk about times we almost got Batman.
Yep.
Because he's setting himself up for this punchline of, I fucking killed Batman tonight, you punks. Also, I've been stealing your money.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 5.
A great number 5. No one on the internet would argue with you.
All right, lay it on me. What's your number 5?
My number 5 or my number 10?
Number 10. Whatever.
My number 10, I'll go through. Let me do 10, 9. Let me do 10, 9, and 8, and I'll just go through them real quick. Sure. Because I also didn't look up writers or directors and stuff. I just kept looking at episodes. Anyways, I won't explain my system. My number 10 is made completely out of it just completely out of my experience is Robin's Reckoning Part 1 and 2. Because when I was a kid, I loved Robin so much. I thought he had a badass outfit. And these 2 episodes that really focused on him at the time were so exciting for me to watch. And also, Biff plays the bad guy, right. Tony Zuko.
Yeah.
Is it Zuko or is that Grease? Anyways, number 9 is Christmas with Joker. It's also a season 1 episode, and that also very much for very specific Zach reasons. It has Joker singing the Batmobile Broke a Wheel song,
right.
And come on, if you're gonna do a Batman cartoon, you have to at some point. So that for me, it's got to be mentioned in the top 10. And also, just quick sidebar.
It is Zuko, by the way.
Yes!
Tony Zuko.
Eat it, nerds. That was in the commercial for ages on Fox. Mm-hmm. And especially every Christmas, Joker singing, Batmobile broke a wheel. And number 8, and this is where I'll stop for now, is Demon's Quest, Part 1 and 2, the introduction of Ra's al Ghul.
That's the one that has the sword fight between Ra's and Batman.
At the end of, it's Part 2.
It's Part 2 at the end, yeah.
Part
he's wearing his cowl.
Part 1 is, just his cowl. Yeah, no nips.
Oh, it's so great. It's like a romance novel cover.
Yeah, but it's also, it goes from being noir to Indiana Jones, which I love.
Yeah,
like
and it's a seamless transition, too.
Yes, yeah. And like, when they're in Calcutta and they're fighting turban guys, and Boo Boo won't let Batman walk in front of him, except for when they're about to walk into the trap, which Bruce deduces. And it's just all the kind of elements in an animated series of what makes not just a Batman story work, but a Batman Ra's al Ghul story work. And I mean, it's referencing some stuff. It's not torn from the pages. And whenever I see something translated into film, that's what I want. I want the spirit to be there, and I want it to be referential without it being literal.
Right.
And so, for me, the Demon's Quest...
without being a copy.
Mwah. Yeah. So, you're number 4.
My number 4, The Man Who Killed Batman.
Oh, remind me of that one.
So, there is a low-level sort of Ponzi who gets brought along on a drug pickup, ends up... quote unquote, killing Batman.
Yes.
Which draws the ire of everybody. Because people either think he didn't deserve it, in the case of the Joker. He didn't deserve to be the one to kill Batman. Or that he is lying about being so dumb and lucky in that he's trying to take over this mob boss's crime ring.
And this is another one of those episodes, if you don't mind me cutting you off, where Batman's barely in it.
He's in it at the beginning and he's in it at the end.
And this time it's not a character study like Harley and Ivy with these 2 people we know.
No, it's just this random Sidney Dibsby, I believe is his name. Sid the Squid. It's wonderful. It's written by Dini, directed by Tim. Came out February 1st, 1992. It is a masterclass.
Yeah.
It's just super fun from beginning to end. You see Sid the Squid just national lampooning his way to being the number 1 guy in Gotham. There's a scene that takes place in a, I believe it's a bar, where Sidney and his gang are sitting at a table, and Sidney's sitting at the head of the table, and he has Batman's cowl rested on the chair behind him.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's really great.
And it's like another perfect example of what made this show great, because it was not so much like, oh, it's going to keep you guessing, but it's like, you know, you're eating steak, cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect this cupcake, but it's delicious. Okay, so I'm going to do
765.
I'm going to do 765. So 7 is another two-parter, and it's another one. I gotta stop doing this because you can hear it on mic. It's another one you can. If you ever hear that clicking, it's me messing with my mechanical pencil, and I will work on it, folks. Heart of Steel is what the episode's called, and it introduces the villain Hardak, which I believe was made up for the animated series. I couldn't get.
I couldn't see it.
I couldn't get a hard answer on that
before.
So when I first, this is another thing. Like when I was first watching it, this two-parter was enthralling. Like, I normally hate doppelganger type stuff, especially when I was little, because I just didn't have a sense of narrative.
Right.
So I was like shaking the TV going, that's not really him! This is going to ruin what people think of him!
What was the children think?
Yes. But this was such a great, because it introduces Hardak, which is this artificial intelligence, which, guess what, folks? Has decided that robots are better than humans, and he needs to replace the human race.
Who could blame him?
And that's an oversimple. I mean, that's what Hardak ultimately gets to. But the narrative of this scientist who has created this artificial intelligence that's actually smarter than him, and the scientist has the best of intentions, and he has this assistant who we think is this very hot, intelligent assistant, but it turns out is one of the first.
Models.
Yeah, models, or, you know. But what Hardak does is not these completely unique robots. He does copies of things.
Yeah.
And it's just a great two-parter. And it's this great, especially when you think of the fact that both Vince and I are pretty sure this is not from canon. This is just a bad guy from the animated series. And he's not even, he's not even a person. It actually, he's animated in the show as this massive, looks like a computer tower with a dot that blinks when he talks, and it's
very HAL 2000.
It is, yes, and it's
2000, 3000.
It's 2000.
2000.
It's Space Odyssey, 2001.
Right.
It's brilliant. It's one of my favorite episodes, and it's one of the ones that whenever I watch, I feel like I'm 6 again. Whatever that means to whoever's hearing this, I have that feeling of like, get me some Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
Number 6 is House and Garden, which is when Poison Ivy gets released from prison, and she seems to start a family. And it's this it's almost, Batman doesn't think she's really on the straight and narrow. And it turns out, like, she has these 2 kids that, she married this guy who already had 2 kids, I'm putting that in quotes.
Right.
And it turns out they are these plant people. And it's this very horrific episode where she's holding her plant people's sons at the end as they're dying. And I actually don't want to describe it too much because it's really worth watching. Because it's heavy, heavy stuff.
Gotcha.
And speaking of heavy, heavy stuff, Mudslide. Which is Clayface is dying.
Yeah.
And this scientist lady who
I love Clayface in the animated series.
Oh, yeah.
The way that he's portrayed it's creepy and off-putting, but Mudslide gives him that that spark.
But one thing that we're not talking about in this, because this is more just a list of the specific things I like, but this series does villain origins like no series.
So well.
Yeah, like no series before it, which we'll get into as we get higher on my list. But oh no, we won't.
We will with my list.
Okay. So Mudslide, it's not the Clayface origin. It's actually the first time we've seen him since, and he's worse off.
Yep,
and
he's deteriorating.
Yeah, he's dying. There's a woman who's in love with him, who's trying to help him, and he's going about it by robbing labs and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, yeah,
So Mudslide, check it out. It's an emotional episode.
All right. Well, getting into my number 3. So you were talking about Hardak being a character exclusively created for this property. My number 3 also follows a character made exclusively for this property, with a little bit more staying power. My number 3 is Mad Love. which comes not from Batman the Animated Series, but the New Adventures of Batman, which are essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But Mad Love shows the origin of the clown princess of crime,
Yeah.
Harley Quinn.
Yep.
It shows her as she was introduced to us as Harleen Quinzel. It shows her meeting up with the Joker, eventually becoming infatuated, wanting to... She starts off, honestly, with more so selfish intentions, that she wants to make it big by being one of the people who cracks one of these big Batman villains. The Joker sees this and exploits it and makes her become dependent on him. Throughout this episode, I saw something. I'm assuming I'm not the first person to see it. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not going to say it. Y'all might, but I won't. This episode encapsulates Harley's in love with the Joker, and the Joker is in love with Batman. That's the main feeling I got from this episode, and it's heartbreaking to watch. Like, somebody who has unrequited love for somebody,
right,
who has unrequited love for somebody else,
right,
and it's obvious that the Joker's using her as a tool.
Well, and the added dimension of it being so painfully obvious to the audience.
Definitely. So it honestly shows it shows domestic abuse in the way that the Joker treats Harley. It's rough to watch, but it shows us so much about Harley's character, and it shows us so much about the Joker's character.
Yeah. And it needed to be done.
Correct, yes.
Like,
and
it was
there has to be that reasoning.
Well, it was great to give her an origin, because she was a standout from that series.
Exactly.
I mean,
she's...
her career speaks for itself. We don't
you
need
can't go 3 feet in Comic-Con without seeing her.
Yeah, yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you certainly know the trajectory of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, hey guys, we're happy to be the first ones to tell you. They made her up for this animated series that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, did it, as a concept, have legs.
And now Tom King's doing stuff with her, and that's
Yeah.
great. But yeah, that is my number 3. I know that might be a controversial number 3, because Mad Love is one of the episodes of the animated series or the New Adventures of Batman that everybody is like, that they hold on that pedestal.
Yeah.
The reason that it's my number 3 is, while I adore what they showed us of these two characters in that episode, it's still rough for me to watch.
Why?
Well, I'm not a proponent of domestic violence. But
that part of it. Was what for you?
that's
I
that's
misunderstood.
the
I
part
thought you were.
that's rough for me.
I apologize.
Yeah,
I misunderstood.
nothing as the.
You don't like watching chicks get smacked on, man?
Yeah.
What's the matter? I thought you meant like kind of the whole episode. Like, as much as I enjoy it, it's hard for me to watch because of A, B, and C.
Oh no, the story is fantastic. It's just more so my own personal hangups that
I
prevented it from being number 1 for me.
I want to change my number 4, but now I don't know the title of the episode, so I won't. My number 4 is Joker's Favor. Here's why.
Okay.
I
have no arguments against it.
It's
a very good episode.
My number 4 is Joker's Favor, because I love the way that schmuck is animated.
Yeah, he looks so goofy.
I love...
Poor Charlie.
I love the way that Joker is, before the ending, like that we talked about, is not just fearless, but like this force of nature. He has this frozen smile he shoots at the guy when he hangs his head out the window to kind of, when the guy was shaking his fist like you and I were talking about, he puts his head out the window, not mad, not anything, just straight up kind of what you would imagine if you're familiar with that animation, just Joker smile. Mm-hmm. And it's, the guy is terrified.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that, Mongo's coming and the whole town empties. Mm-hmm. I love the long con of it. I love that, like, in the Batman animated series, they have set up Joker as a guy who thinks 12 steps ahead.
2 years ahead.
Yeah. Or even just, hey, I got this guy in my back pocket, I'll use him for something. So, number 4 is Joker's favor. Do you want me to do number 3, or should you do your number 2?
Well, why don't you do number 3? I'll do number 2. You'll do number 2. I'll do number 1.
Number 3 is another Joker episode, and I wish I'd kind of peppered in some more Catwoman and Penguin. Maybe we'll do this again and make sure not to do these episodes again. But Laughing Fish, which has some of the most terrifying animation ever.
That grimace, that Joker smile on the people it's animated in such a way that is truly terrifying.
The Joker fish, the animation of those are etched in my brain forever.
Oh yeah.
And then Batman cosplaying as the victim. So like at one point, Joker's killing off these very specific gentlemen, and at one point they've narrowed down who he's killing off. So Batman, Commissioner Gordon, a bunch of Gotham's finest are in this guy's office with the guy. And at a certain point, a fish is delivered, everybody freaks out, nothing happens, and then Batman starts laughing like crazy. And you're like, what is going on? It's terrifying. It's very, scary. And then Batman risks his mask off. Turns out he's the guy, and Batman was pretending to be the victim the whole time. He's in costume as the victim. He takes it off. He's wearing a costume
over his cap.
Yeah.
There's some things that animation can do that you just can't get from.
But I buy it. I'm fine. It's number 3 on my list.
Are wonderful.
All right, you're number 2. Okay,
My
we're
number
caught
2.
up. We're caught up.
Yep.
You did it, buddy.
Yeah. My number 2 is the Emmy winner, Heart of Ice.
Ah, yes.
This is our...
Talk about origins.
Yeah, this is our origin to Mr. Freeze, which I can only assume he would like to be referred to as Dr. Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Spent a lot of time in evil school. Wants to get
He
back.
didn't go to evil school. He went to regular university.
Well,
they don't give you doctorates at
maybe
evil
he
school.
picked up classes in Arkham. You don't know.
No, they don't give you doctors. You become a professor at evil school, I believe.
Well, I mean, there's a disproportionate amount of doctors in Gotham City. But it shows us a truly tragic origin story for a character that otherwise had just been like a B villain for Batman. Before this episode, Mr. Freeze was just, hey, Batman's going up against a guy. What have we done yet? We got a clown. We got a dude with half a face.
Hey, Flash has got a freeze guy.
Yeah, let's do a freeze guy.
Yeah.
We can do it better than those chumps over there.
I actually don't know who came first.
Don't care.
It's got to be Mr. Cold, right? His name's Mr. Cold.
Yeah, I don't know. Regardless, it shows us Victor's origin story in that his wife is dying of a disease. He cryogenically freezes her. The big bad CEO wants to cut off funding, ends up causing the incident that makes Mr. Freeze Mr. Freeze.
Freezy.
Yeah. And throughout the episode, Mr. Freeze is portrayed with just his classic monotone, slightly modulated voice, and he is an imposing figure.
Yeah.
And like they give all the corny reasons why this heckin' nerd should be able to fight Batman hand to hand because he has the suit that amplifies his strength.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic episode through and through.
The good thing about all the villain origins is Kevin Conroy gets to be Bruce Wayne a lot, and I love his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, his swanky
Playboy voice. Like, it's a little bit lighter than the Batman voice, but it also has this kind of je ne sais quoi, like this, like, you know, he's always very like, I'm Bruce Wayne. I can't, God, bless it. I wish I could do a good impression of it, but it's, do you know what I mean?
I
like
100%.
It's like cabin boy, like, hey, we're having a good time.
He just wants to make sure everybody's
God bless
partying.
that man. You know, Kevin Conroy's characterization of both those characters is.
But yeah, my number 2, Heart of Ice. Highly recommend. Check it out.
I know we're doing lists, but, you know, if I was going to do, this almost made it, it should have been in my honorable mentions, was Two-Face.
Yeah, Two-Face is origin.
All the Bruce Wayne stuff in that. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, I'm not arguing, but, like, for me, on my list, it would have been Two-Face up and down. And also because of the visceral memories I have of that. All right, my number 2 is the one that I was talking about earlier that I think might be from the Adventures, or what have you, is Old Wounds.
Okay.
Which is the episode opens with Tim Drake fighting some street toughs, I believe in Crime Alley. And he gets one of them, and another one puts him in a trash can, starts rolling him down the hill.
It is from the New Adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nightwing saves him, and Nightwing and Robin talk about why Dick left. Mm-hmm. And it's this great kind of... It's the first time in the series they ever show, like, Dick and Barbara dating, which was never a thing, really, on the series. It's only kind of represented in this one episode.
That's fun.
And I love that episode, and I love, it's that thing we talk about when we talk about Titans. It'll probably come up a lot whenever we talk about the character of Dick Grayson, is in the beginning of the episode when Robin's like, "Why'd you leave?" And Dick says, "Times change," and Tim says, Tim pushes, and Dick says, "Well, what does Batman say?" Tim says, he says, "Times change."
Yeah.
And I love that moment. I love that, like, "You're your dad. You're your dad. Get the hell over it." And I've talked about this before, too, but it's like, being the oldest son, that is a thing that you fight against and then eventually come to grips with. It's like, yeah, no, I'm probably just my dad. And I love that arc. I love seeing somebody else go through that, and I'm never bummed when somebody's a chip off the old Batman block. I'm just never bummed about it. It's always quite endearing to me.
Yeah. It shows what a magnetic force Batman is.
Yeah.
Even to those closest to him.
Well, I think this gets into a different conversation, but like I think with Dick Grayson, it was mission accomplished. I really do think Dick is better having been in Bruce's life had he not been.
I 100% agree.
Like, and he came out on the other side relatively unscathed, more than Jason.
Yeah,
Jason got the short end of the stick, of the Batman son stick, and continues to. All right, you're number one.
My number one is also from the New Adventures of Batman. It's an episode titled "Over the Edge."
I don't know it at all.
So, this episode, so I'll just go through. The episode starts off with the Bat Gang, which is Batman, Robin, and Barbara, Batgirl, chasing after Scarecrow. Batman and Robin are being tied up at the they're fighting off henchmen. Scarecrow's making a break for it, gets to the roof. Batgirl follows him, and he throws her off the edge of
I know
the
this
building.
I'm with you.
Batgirl's body plummets to the ground, hits a cop car. It's Gordon's cop car. He gets out. He finds out that Barbara was Batgirl, and he blames Batman.
Yeah.
And through this episode, I think it shows us so many different things. And
it shows Bruce's worst case scenario.
It shows Bruce's worst case scenario, sure. But it also shows what Gotham would be if they didn't rely on Batman. Because in that episode...
Rely on, or if they actively...
If they actively tried to stop him, they could.
Yeah.
Because it takes Gordon all of a couple days to figure out Batman's identity.
Do you know what I like about that?
Go for it.
Is that, and I know the end of the episode being what it is,
right.
It might make this point moot, but what I like about that is the concept of, if Jim wanted to...
Yeah, he could find out
fucking could.
Yeah, exactly. He's so good.
I love that idea. I love Jim Gordon as a character.
I also love Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
I love Jim Gordon when he took over the Batman mantle for all of those, like, three issues.
Yeah.
But the episode shows us Gotham PD versus Batman. And
not just Batman.
No,
the whole family.
The whole family, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of having heroes go up against heroes. I think that's trite and overdone.
Bones it out. I'm right there with you.
But this episode...
Just team up, for Christ's sakes! You're on the same...
This episode specifically, it shows... It's not at the beginning. It's not the first time they're meeting. Cough, cough. BVS. Mm-hmm. We have been with these characters for 7 years. They have teamed up. This is something just to, just to whet the appetite of the bloodthirsty.
Right. That being said,
the episode, it shows...
No, you were getting to a point. I'm sorry. You were saying, not to explain to you your point, but I feel like something got away from you just then. Okay. You were saying, I don't like when good guys are pit against good guys.
Right. No, but this episode shows us how to do that well.
Right. Okay.
How to do it so well.
I'm so glad I made you...
So the episode, it shows what a hellfire and brimstone Gordon can rain down upon Gotham City.
He thinks his daughter's dead.
Yeah. He knows his daughter's dead.
You're right.
This is a man who blames Bruce Wayne, Batman, for his daughter's death so much that while carrying her casket to a hearse so that he can take down Batman, he realizes she is gone. There is nothing left I can do for her except for bring this man to justice.
Well, also that plan means he calculated he's going to be there.
Yeah.
He's going to be watching from the... I know this guy.
She meant enough to him that he would be here. I'm going to catch him here.
Here's why else that
makes... It adds another layer of justice to it all.
Well, here's why else that makes sense is it's not just this guy's responsible for my daughter's death. And it's not just like... There's also a massive betrayal of this guy. We were... I mean, if colleagues, if not friends.
Right. And we were friends. We joked around. We've had laughs.
But what I'm saying is at the base of it,
worst case scenario, if you thought of us only as colleagues, then it should have been more than
you'd be like, hey, by the way, your daughter's been coming out with me.
Right.
Give a guy a heads up. Yeah. So I think that's why that emotionally makes sense. For me, anyways, when I'm watching the episode, I don't go, oh, bullshit. He wouldn't plan an attack at his daughter's funeral. I go, he absolutely would. Yeah. He's turned off right now.
He's not a human anymore.
He's a vengeance machine.
Catching machine.
Yeah.
The ending of the episode should be pretty apparent to anybody watching it because it's obvious.
And it's been done before, not as effectively.
I think that Over the Edge is... primo.
Yeah.
Like if there's an episode, if I'm on a desert island that has connection for one episode of the New Adventures of Batman, there's one episode I'm watching, it's Over the Edge.
But that is the opposite of the episode of Star Trek I made you watch with the trial, the good one.
Exactly.
Where that was the first trial of the episode they did, and later on in the series they tried doing it over and over and over again. But this is not the first Batman... No. Batman having a Mad Hatter fantasy episode, but this was the best one, and it's the last one they did
by and large.
And I think an argument could be made that we needed to incur the emotional debt. Yeah. Like we needed to live with these characters for a while for an episode like that to hit home the way that episode does. Which I didn't know the title of, but the second you started talking to me about it, I was like, I know this episode. I can picture him pulling the thing out of the casket and shooting up at the roof. It's a good episode. Wonderful. All right. My number one, which I predicted would piss you off.
Yes. What is it?
All right. My number one is an episode of Justice League Unlimited titled Epilogue.
You are taking so many liberties.
So here's the thing. Epilogue opens up with a raised, with a grown up, a very no longer skinny or anything like that, Terry McGinnis. And it's black and white, and he's pissed off.
I'm doing the rest of this podcast under duress.
There's a decrepit Bruce Wayne in a chair, and he's bitching at him. And Terry's like, get off of it, old man. And this is Terry, an aged Terry, older than we've ever seen him. He breaks into this house.
Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond.
Yes. They know.
I understand, but...
They know.
I don't know. Maybe he breaks into somebody's entrance into the nerd ecosystem.
I don't care. Okay. He breaks into this house. And it's Aunt Waller.
Amanda Waller.
Amanda Waller's house, and she's old too. And he's got questions.
Yeah, he does. I know this episode back and front.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if we were doing a Justice League Unlimited
No,
episode, Zach,
it doesn't. No, this is the best episode of Batman the Animated Series. This is the episode of where one of Batman's greatest villains explains to Batman's son, I had to make Batman needs to exist.
Yeah, I get it.
Batman has to exist. I will go through great lengths. I will genetically redesign some dude's shootout white stuff so that it makes a Bruce Wayne baby because he can't pump it at anybody because he's broken inside. I might even set up your parents' murder because Batman needs to be. Batman is a fact of the universe that without it, we are not better off. And that, for me, is why Justice League Unlimited, episode 24, titled Epilogue. This entire conglomerate of Warner Brothers Animated started with Batman the Animated Series. And you're goddamned right that it ended with Amanda Waller explaining to Terry McGinnis that there has to be a Batman. And also, you watch that, the entire part with, what's her name?
Amanda Waller?
No. One. Not the Spade girl.
10?
10.
10.
Yeah.
You know, listen, bud. You're not telling me anything new.
It's the best episode
I
of
can't
Batman.
wait until we do our Flash episode where I can point out my favorite episode of The Flash is Static Shock episode 2. But...
Did The Flash have his own show? No, he didn't.
What? No, not his own animated show.
Oh.
No, I 100% get where you're coming from. And that honestly opens up, like, the biggest... Who is the biggest villain for Batman? Because Amanda...
It's Joker.
Well, so you say that, but that's getting into the argument of what's worse, chaotic evil or lawful evil. Because just because there's order with evil, does that make it
I'm not as
better?
familiar with Amanda Waller in the comics.
Oh.
But
she's like that.
I think that...
Epilogue is very true to character.
I think that with Batman, with your DC characters,
right.
It's easier to do a 1-to-1. It's easier to go Joker, Batman, Lex Luthor, Superman, Green Lantern, Sinestro. You know, it's easier to go, no, this is the guy. Sherlock, Professor Moriarty. You know, with X-Men and with Marvel, it's a little more difficult. You know, some exceptions. Mm-hmm. I would... a whole different conversation, but I would... sight unseen without preparing, I can't really make a case for it, but I think it's Joker. If you go to Japan and ask who's Batman's villain.
But, okay, who has hurt Bruce Wayne more by doing that? Only taking into canon the animated series that we're given. I would argue that Amanda Waller genetically making a clone of Batman that he eventually finds out about and then forcing Batman to unwillingly re-experience the most tragic part of his life vicariously, I would say that is worse than any Joker fish.
I would argue that the animated series, his greatest villain is the Ninja.
The Ninja?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't give him a name.
Yeah, that's the one with the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's in 2 episodes. He never really catches him. He seems to be the only guy who gets under that Bruce's skin that way. Joker doesn't really, nobody really. I mean, Batman in the animated series is a sentinel of just the guy's collected. Nothing gets under his skin. Nothing really bothers him. Other than stuff that's designed to, like Scarecrow and stuff like that. But I think the only time you really see him shook, the only time you really see him intimidated by something, or even really, really questioning himself, is that Ninja. I wish he got more screen time, but I think they encourage so much narrative depth that there's no way to pay it off.
I bet if Batman's podcast partner pulled out the Justice League Unlimited episode, I might get under his skin a bit.
If people ever do listen to this, I will have supporters. I can tell you 100% people who are blood related to me, when they heard me say that, were like, yeah! So that's our top 10. I definitely think we need to come back to this.
Yeah,
this is a wealthy mind.
I think that this episode could use some revisiting.
I have all kinds of stuff I wanted to talk about but didn't get into.
Okay.
Night of the Ninja being one of them.
Night of the Ninja was a really good episode. I also okay. So Night of the Ninja, it ends with Bruce Wayne revealing that he has a vest to block the pressure point.
Yes.
But the pressure point hole is cut out.
Yes.
So what's stopping that pressure point? Dreams?
Will. No,
Okay, yeah.
Sheer will.
Yeah, sheer will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Batman's superpower.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
Whatever.
Okay, yeah, no, that's cool.
You can't have a problem with that.
No, it's just like a weird thing. Like the ninja's superpower, quote unquote, is that he hits pressure points, and the most like devastating pressure point is dead center chest, middle rippling pectorals.
Mm-hmm.
And when Batman pulls off his like when he shows his MacGuffin, this vest that's supposed to block his power point, there's still a hole cut out for his power point. I don't get that why it wouldn't still go through. But if I guess Batman powering out of it through sheer sense of
my
personality.
read on that was always when the guy did it, it destroyed that.
Oh, yeah, I guess that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I can take that.
Hey, we solved it.
There we go.
Quick question.
Sure.
All right. In Kill Bill, after she does that, yeah. So let's say he sat down, said, "Somebody get me a wheelchair." He'd be fine, right?
I don't think so.
That's always been my theory. That if he just sat down and was like, "Look, you made your point.
Yeah, we can. Talk
I
about
can't
this
walk now. Get me a wheelchair. Let's raise our daughter. I killed your almost husband and almost you.
Do you think
you stopped me from being able to walk and killed all my assassin friends? I'd say it's even. I'm clearly doing a good job with this girl."
Do you think that your heart doesn't beat when you don't take steps?
Look, here's what I know. Is the rules of that.
Here's what I know. No step, no heart.
Yes. The rules of that attack were you can take 5 steps and then you're dead. And to me, that means, okay, I got 5 more steps.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Fine.
That's fine.
For you, it's a heart thing.
Yeah, it's
For
not a
me,
hard thing. It's
I'm
just
going from what the movie
it's
told
a weird
me.
hang up.
All right.
Okay.
I felt like that was worth opening up, and I swear to God, if you cut this.
No, that'll stay in. Okay, let's get into homework.
I'll go first.
Okay, sure.
All right. So I read We Three, not the other part of my homework. It is Christmas, and it is cold, and I work in manufacturing, and that makes stuff very busy. Sorry, everybody. But We Three, written by Grant Morrison, illustrated by Frank Quigley.
I believe so. I'll double check that.
I'm worried about the pronunciation.
Okay. We Three, written by Grant Morrison, art by insert artist here.
Frank. Well, no, because I love that artist. That guy. I always tell people, read Grant Morrison and Frank Quigley's X-Men, because they fixed X-Men, and it was We Three is
Frank Quietly. Or Quietly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Quickly, I think.
Okay. We'll go with Quietly.
It is. I mean, it's what you can depend on those two guys for. It's like it's a small little masterpiece. Very tragic. Very emotional.
I wanted you to cry, Zach. You didn't cry.
No, I didn't.
Heartless.
No, it's not that I'm heartless. It's that it's very hard for literature to hit me there.
Really?
Yes.
There's such like emotive art in it.
No, I know. But it also might be also like my schedule is such that I'm reading these comics when I'm not working or cooking.
Right.
Or when I'm working or cooking. So it might also be like, I might not be reading it at the best time. Like today I read part 3. Or no. It was 3 days ago. I read part 3 on my lunch break. You know, in a noisy warehouse where people are welding and hitting, you know. And I'm doing it on a phone too. So when I'm looking, like the time that I'm taking the time to look at the art and stuff is a little bit. But I mean, it is, I can't recommend it enough. This is another out of the park for me of like, well, this is a masterpiece. And it's brief.
Yeah, it's 3 issues.
Yeah,
that's it, and it tells a full, very sad, unless you're Zach, story.
No, it was a very tragic tale, but it also has sort of a happy ending, which I wasn't expecting. The way you said you're going to cry, I thought, oh, everybody's going to die.
Oh yeah,
and especially after 3 got shot. I was like, oh, well, now this is the Saving Private Ryan. We're just going to watch them all get...
all the characters you love.
I was actually like, it's not a criticism. Next time, don't set me up for that. Because I was at a certain point going, oh, everyone's going to die. And when they didn't, I was like, oh.
So, that's the thing about me. You can show me a character that I could have known for 10 years, and you can kill them off. Mm-hmm. And I won't shed a tear. You show me that same character, not dying from that incident, but crawling their way back and living happily ever after, I'm a fountain.
No, I'm with you on that.
I'm just saying, like, of stuff that I will give you,
right.
Very rarely will it end with, and then they all die.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I like and then they all died, but I'm Irish.
It's all bleeding through.
Like, you know, almost anything Grant Morrison writes is genius. Mm-hmm. And it's very evocative art. Also, like, I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, kind of political satire, but, you know, political satire. And
it's Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
Like, it's always going to work its way in. It's not prevalent. Like, it's very subdued. But, like, if you go into comics and you just want to shut the world out, you don't want to have to worry about politics invading more comic books, you can still read We Three.
I would say We Three is the perfect rainy Saturday afternoon, have a cup of tea, settle in, wear something comfy, have your blanket. If you have a pet, keep them close.
Oh, keep them so close.
And read We Three and feel some feelings. Like, have a day and be a human. Mm-hmm. Because that will get you there.
I read We Three, like, my senior year of high school, and I cried at the ending, and I can't remember the time I cried before that. Facts.
I cry often. Just this didn't get me there. But not because it wasn't incredibly moving and brilliantly done. I mean, big 2 paws, way up.
3 paws.
Yeah. Read We Three. If you're listening to this and at all going off our recommendations, read it. So yours was a little weirder.
Mine was slightly weirder, yeah. I would say.
Yours was...
You gave me a podcast from 2011.
Yes. Well, okay. We called this podcast Nerdy Neighbors. Yep. And a big thing that I'm nerdy about is fucking comedy.
I dig it.
I love comedy. And there's this kind of... I resent calling it this, but there's this alt comedy scene happening in LA right now. A big part of it is podcasting. And a big part of the mosaic that is that alt scene is the podcast Comedy Bang Bang, which I've made you listen to.
So you made me listen to episode 112 of Comedy Bang Bang, Since You've Been Gone, starring Scott Aukerman,
host of the show,
Weird Al, and then they were joined by, oh crap. Who were they joined?
Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Lord Andrew, yeah.
You might know him from such music. He was the creator of Cats.
Yes.
Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
So
that's the comedian.
Sir Lloyd Webber was being played by Paul F. Tompkins.
Yes. So just say, all right, like, be gentle.
Okay.
All right? Yeah. I want you to be honest, but be gentle because this is...
It holds a place in your heart.
No.
Okay.
This is everything to me.
Okay. It holds your heart.
Hi, Kelly. Say hi, babe.
Hi.
That's my fiance. I'm going to marry that lady. So yeah, no, seriously. What do you think?
It's not for me.
What?
It's not for me.
What? What's not for you?
So I liked the second half after... Andrew Lloyd Webber was introduced. Mm-hmm. That part I thought was very funny. The lead up to it with...
Is this the episode where they're going, homonyms?
Yes. Yeah. I think maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just that Weird Al's humor is almost the opposite of what I find funny.
I thought you would like it. That's why I picked that
I like
one.
Weird Al because he's so genuine. Mm-hmm. I do not find Weird Al funny. Like, I appreciate it as a human being, as an artist. I just don't find it funny.
Okay.
So, you have Scott Aukerman, who had a fantastic line about Kelly Clarkson's turd cutter, I believe.
This was 7 years ago.
Yeah. And I thought that was genuinely hilarious because it was juxtaposed with Weird Al's like family-friendly
But
humor.
also, like, Andrew Lloyd... Paul F. Tompkins doesn't like those types of jokes either. So
Yeah.
his characters are normally... I'm not defending this. I think... Again, I'm not defending this. It's what I was trying to expose you to is Scott saying weird things, and then these two, not so much straight men,
Right.
but like these two guys who, that's not where their sense of humor kind of
They have to
leans.
deal with it.
Yeah, react to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I can see why it means so much to you. Like
Yes.
I definitely get that feeling that if I were to just listen to it, I would probably be in the same boat as you, but I don't want to.
Here's what. Well, you're not going to get more now. I can't say you won't get more in the future. But what is? It's going to sound very defensive, and I don't mean it that way. But what is so great to me about Comedy Bang Bang as just as a property or however you want to think of it is funny people being silly for the sake of silly. It is the audio interpretation of the banana gag.
Yeah, no, I completely.
I'm
get
not
that.
explaining it
Yeah,
to
no,
you.
no,
It's me saying this is what speaks to me about that show. And
Right.
part of the reason I recommended that episode to you is I felt like it was a good... Like, it's a hard thing to put your finger on. Like, not just comedy, but like three guys with no plan talking. And what's the best one of that?
Right.
So I tried to pick one that was like... lean to what I thought would be your comedic sensibilities, but also what is for me one of my favorites. Because I actually like don't even remember that one that well. I was so close to being like, listen to the best ofs. But every single one of those I felt like for it to be funny I would somehow have to put it into some kind of context for you.
Right.
I'm sad to hear it wasn't for you, but we'll find you some.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll find you an episode that you'll like. Not yet, but soon.
Well, with our previous.
But you
weeks,
didn't
so-
like Andrew Lloyd Webber?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I adored that
Okay.
that aspect and the hot air balloon and the and the tuna requesting Scat's cat.
Okay. I'll get. Yeah, we're not going to do it this week, but I need somebody to talk about Comedy Bang Bang with. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Zach is accepting new podcast partners.
No. The last thing I would ever want to do is a podcast about a podcast. Yeah. So do you want me to stay with the homework you gave me last week?
Morning Glories?
Yeah, Morning Glories.
No, it's the holiday season. I can understand. Morning Glories itself is pretty dense to
Yeah, I
read
haven't
on
even
its
started
own.
it yet.
So I'm not gonna make that my recommendation to
Give
you.
me something to watch. That's easier for me.
Done and Dunner. Your homework for this week is the first 2 episodes of Sci-Fi's Blood Drive.
That was straight vodka. Dun and Dunner. Oh, it's called Blood Drive? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was called Dun and Dunner.
No. You just said, give me something to watch. So I said,
Yeah. Okay. Blood Drive. Sci-fi. Blood Drive.
Yeah, I brought it up on the podcast before. It's the Death Race 2000 type thing.
I remember you talking about this, yeah.
I am interested to see what you think of it because it almost encapsulates my personality. It's a show that I loved. It's available on demand, I believe, so you should be able to watch at least the first 2 episodes, and if you like it, maybe the entire series.
I'm not being rude. I'm looking at my notes. I've been jotting down things I thought might be good homework for you.
Sure, by all means.
I've written down some things. Oh, well, you've watched Legion.
I have watched Legion, yes. You want me to watch it again? Done. Say no more, family.
Should we do Legion Season 1 next week?
Sure.
I want to.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Legion Season 1's next week. And I have 2 other things written down that are both comedy podcast related, which I don't want to do now.
Okay.
So you'll have to tune in and follow our Twitter to figure out what I give Vince for homework, because I need to reconvene with myself, talk to my priest, my family, my friends, my fiance, and figure out exactly what the best concept would be for going into next week's homework. I want to give you something to read.
That's fine.
But I'm hesitant to, overload you. I wanted
on the
to...
opposite end of you, have all the time in the world to read stuff.
Remember in the pilot, and I was like, oh, I really want you to read this Neil Gaiman book that's really easy to read?
Yeah.
And I was... I'm tempted to give you that and see where you get. Because it's such an easy read. It's called The Graveyard Book. And just a spoiler of a summary.
Right.
It's The Jungle Book, except in a graveyard.
Huh. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And it's it is just a thing that this is right in line with our homework concept of this is a thing I really like. I think you would like it because you haven't been exposed to it yet. So where do you land with that? I have it right here. So I will physically hand it to you.
So here's my thing. If you want to give me a novel for homework.
It's not a novel, though. It's really, you don't have to vamp. I will continue to talk as I grab this book that I want you to see, the size of the text and...
Oh, yeah, I could burn through this.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
very much set up like a children's book because it's the Jungle Book, except in a graveyard.
Sure. Yeah.
Forky, future guest on the podcast, I think burned this out in 4 days.
Yeah.
And no offense, Bub, if you listen to this, he's probably a slower reader than you.
Well.
Which speaks nothing to his intelligence.
Yeah.
He always says, no, I actually read things.
Right.
You just zip through things, Zach, it's a line of cocaine.
People who complain about people eating too fast.
Yeah. I just read quick. It's not, I don't know.
I'm the same way. But yeah, no, that sounds good. We'll do
and
that.
also, if you don't finish it, you don't finish it, and we do hey, I want to finish this and we'll talk about this more later. I'll vamp. We can...
Yeah. I mean, it would be unprecedented for somebody to not finish homework on this show.
No.
But...
Yeah, I've set up a wonderful precedent for you to have room. Exactly. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you. Zach, the altruist over here, just laying on the sword.
Hey, man. Turn a loss into a victory.
Oh, nerdy things we did this week. And I have a big one, too.
So let me go first, then.
Go for it. Knock it out.
I'm doing a deep dive. It's not even a deep dive. It is a straight up heroin addiction to Young Justice.
You had it on when I came up.
I can't stop watching Young Justice. Soon we're going to have to do a Young Justice episode. And also, if we do, we need to just focus on seasons.
Okay. So
we
it'll
just
be
need to do a Young Justice season 1,
season
2, and then we can maybe bleed into 3. But we need to talk about Young Justice. I need to talk to you about Young Justice.
That is perfectly
Next
fine.
week we're doing Legion.
Next week's Legion. It's concrete. But potentially...
No, you know what? No, let's do Young Justice next week.
Okay. Sure.
You good?
Yeah.
Season 1, Young Justice next week.
That's fine by me.
We'll leave Legion in the... Because I have a lot to say about Legion. Mm-hmm. I actually think we should save Legion for my brother.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So we're coming up with plans. Leave all this on Mike. Listeners, next week we're doing Young Justice. You're welcome.
What other new things have you done this week?
Okay. Well, D&D is this Friday.
Okay.
I am, strangely enough, Vince, continuing my strange addiction to supernatural YouTube clips. But they have evolved to whatever's happening this season. Right now we're in season 14. Mm-hmm. Dean has just shook off the possession of Michael from the Apocalypse universe. And I'm just digging it. There's Apocalypse Bobby. He's dating their mom now. Apocalypse Bobby had a son.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. Well, they're almost dad is dating their sort of mom. So why not?
But it's more of an uncle type thing.
No. Because remember the episode where Sam might be able to get his soul back if he kills his dad?
Right.
And since his dad is dead, the demon's like, well...
Yeah, kill Bobby.
Yeah.
I get that. But that has, Macbeth undertones.
No, I feel like if it passes mystically, it passes narratively.
Okay, that's fine.
I guess I'll wrap up there. I have this gnawing feeling that there's something I'm not mentioning, but it's not coming forth.
Check the Twitter for what Zach missed.
Well, yeah. I also, just a slight nerdy thing, me and you need to get together, and whether we talk about it on pod or not, I want to sit down and watch Where Titans is now together.
Okay. Yeah.
I have the subscription.
Right.
DC. I'm paying you your fucking money. It's all on the up and up.
Congratulations for getting paid for that content you're giving me. I guess.
I'm making
that's a good subscription service. That's not even bad.
Are you paying for it too?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was about to say, so why am I?
That's a good question.
We wouldn't share. We would never share.
Absolutely not.
No silent talking was happening.
Absolutely not.
We just did a visual bit on the podcast. We're hacks.
Yeah. Nowhere but
That was a
up.
bit just for us. Do not cut it out. All right, bub. What do you got?
The kid is back.
Uh-oh.
After 5 straight weeks of me missing my D&D game, I am back. We had our game last night. That's why I wasn't able to record last night. I have missed playing D&D so much.
Do you want to give us a recap? Do you want to just talk general feelings?
So, I play a character named Dang, who's a half-orc berserker barbarian. I have this most recent session. We were going through a dream version of Castle Ravenloft, which is a very famous D&D module.
Right.
I was able to do 102 points of damage in a single turn as a 5th level barbarian. I was very happy.
No big deal.
No big deal. Whatever. If you want me in your D&D game, just hit me up. But the feeling of being a part of a group telling a story is something I've missed for so long. So long. So that's probably the biggest.
How big's your crew?
We have 5 player characters and a DM, so 6 people altogether.
Nice.
But that's probably the biggest nerdy thing. I also reached out to a former co-writer of mine to take a series that we wrote together. So I used to work with this guy named Shah, and while we worked together, because I do nothing at my job and I still have it, please don't fire me, we sat down and we wrote out a video series that we wanted to do. It's basically, imagine It's Always Sunny meets The Office set in a retail store.
Right.
But I reached out to him recently because I had the idea of potentially turning that video series, which most likely isn't going to be made into a video series, or at least it won't be made into a video series for a long time, but potentially turning that video series into a graphic novel. So I had him send me the scripts. I'm currently working on adapting those for a comic.
I can act if you ever need somebody.
It's not so, well, I might actually keep that in the back line, but it's more so nailing down a location that won't sue us for being there.
Right.
That's the biggest issue. But yeah, so nerdy things I did this week. Finally got back into my D&D
So what's
game.
up with the soap opera? Anything?
No.
Nothing to report?
Not really. I've sort of hit I hit a wall with it.
Uh-oh.
So other things have been sort of grabbing my
That
attention.
classic nerd thing has happened where it's like, I don't feel like doing this right now.
Yeah,
Maybe later.
There's so there's so much stuff. It's still NaNoWriMo, so I want to. I know that I'm not going to finish anything before November's over, but I would like to start progress on something that isn't going to have the wind taken out of the sails so quickly. As soon as I got done writing out episode 1 of the soap opera, I became disillusioned with it. I have the first 3 episodes still plotted out, and I know where I want the season to go overall, but putting pen to paper is getting rougher and rougher.
I think, given the facilities we have and some of the resources we have, we should absolutely, when you're comfortable with it, do a table read of episode 1.
Oh,
I can get other people here. Give me a list of how many heads you need.
I just got a cold sweat.
Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there. I feel like it might be fun to do as a bonus app or something like that. Like
Yeah,
it's
maybe if we end up starting a Patreon or something like
well,
that, we
no,
can do
no,
it as a
no, we
bonus
give it to the
episode or
people
something
for free. We give them a taste of episode 1 for free. Look at you cringing. Just think about it. Just think about
Yeah,
it. This is a
we'll
thing.
think about it.
This
We'll
is a
think
thing
about
that sounds like would be a lot of fun for me. I know other performative people
It
who would
does
be
sound
very
like something
interested
that would
in
be
doing this.
interesting. Yeah, we can give it a shot. We'll give
All
it a
right.
college.
I just want you to know I am the biggest fan of your soap opera, and I haven't seen page 1 of
I haven't
it.
seen anything
And
about it.
I want to know more. Okay, so that's nerdy things we did this week, and that, my friend,
That
is the show.
is the show. That's episode 4. But yeah,
All right, guys, please follow our Twitter.
at nerdy_pod. That's
But
fine.
please keep tuning in. We will get better.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we do this for fun.
Yeah.
And we hope that you are having fun with us. If you're not, let us know.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to change much
No,
because this is the way that we enjoy it.
Don't let us know. If you're not, just stop listening, but tell your friends to listen. We love you.
Yeah.
We should do our outro.
Yeah.
All right. On a 3, a 2, a 3, 2, 1. Zippity zap, zip, zippity zoop, zoop, zap, zippity zap.